The music business is the intersection of art and commerce and is built around technological innovation and entrepreneurship. We are currently involved in a paradigm shift from the physical configuration to the digital format. And in the midst of this change, a lot of people have been saying that the music industry is dying. The music industry is dead. Well, I want to tell you that those rumors are greatly exaggerated. Now, while the recording industry sector of the music business has grown smaller, other areas like live performance has reached record growth. The increase in digital sales of both albums and singles, streaming, and even subscription services are growing as well. Now, this isn't the first time that people have said that the music industry is over. That's been said a number of times over the over 100-year history of the music industry as we know it. Noted astronomer and author Dr. Carl Sagan, the late Dr. Carl Sagan, said, "In order for you to understand your future, you must know your past." All right, so let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning of the music industry as we know it. Let's go back to the 1890s. In the 1890s, you had traveling shows, minstrel shows. Unfortunately, white people in blackface and many black people in blackface, singing songs that the public enjoyed. Was there a business around this other than a live performance? Yes, there was. What was that business? It was the sheet music business. Sheet music were selling like records sold in the 20th century. Sheet music was the product that was being sold other than live performances, a burgeoning business. You had entrepreneurs at that time. You had companies that started, Shapiro, Bernstein and Company. You had Mills Music. Companies that are still around today started as publishing companies, printing sheet music, which sold. At that time, you had middle-class families who had pianos in their parlors. So if they went to a minstrel show or a vaudeville show, a few days after, they'd go to the music store. And the only way for them to hear those great songs that they enjoyed a few nights before was to buy the sheet music and take it home and start playing the music and singing the songs. Great business for a 10, 15-year run, I'd say. But then you had the shock of a new product that came into existence shortly after the turn of the century. A new type of product, a new configuration of music, of songs. The piano roll. The first mechanical reproduction of a song. The piano roll was the first mechanical reproduction to become popular. The perforations in the paper enable the keys to go down right in time and you hear the same melodies of a song that you've heard. What was the reaction of the publishing companies at that time? Well, you can bet their reactions were, wait a minute, our business is over. Who's going to want to buy the sheet music and have to play the piano and sing the songs when they can hear the piano being played as a result of the piano roll? The music industry's over. Was it over? No. Congress got involved and amended the Copyright Act to ensure that the publishers of those compositions got paid a mechanical royalty each time one of those piano rolls was sold. Was the industry over? Did it hurt the print business? Not at all. The print business flourished even more and piano rolls flourished even more. An early entrepreneur in the recording industry was a man named Harry Pace. Harry Pace was a partner with the great blues founder, the founder of the blues, the father of the blues, the great W.C. Handy. And in the early 1920s, he saw a market for black female blues singers. And he started a company in Harlem called Black Swan Records. Many people think that Motown was the first black-owned record company. But no, it goes all the way back to the beginning of the record industry. Then as you got into the 1920s, recordings became popular. Selling records became popular. And the first popular records were really recorded by black female blues singers. Mamie Smith, Ethel Waters, in the early 20s became mega recording stars as a result of them selling records in the 20s. How did the publishers feel about that? There was some concern. Of course, they were going to get paid their mechanical royalty, but clearly they thought, oh my goodness, the print business is over. Piano rolls didn't kill us, but records. People can buy records and hear the songs whenever they want to. Why would they want to buy the print music? As it turned out, there was no problem whatsoever with that. Recordings helped the publishing industry and the print music sales even to expand further. Then, of course, we came to the 1930s and the Great Depression. Decimated the music business. Once again, people legitimately thought the record industry is over. People can't afford to buy records. Vaudeville shows couldn't afford to go out on the road. People couldn't afford the tickets. But at that time, another technological innovation, radio, which had really started some years before, but at that point they had primarily broadcast news reports. But in the 1930s, radio stations and radio networks decided to bring bands in. The bands couldn't work on the road, so they brought them into the studios. And they let them play their music in the studios. The recording industry thought, well, once again, and the publishing industry as well, thought, we're going to have a real problem here. It's not P2P that bothered them. It wasn't peer-to-peer 100 years ago that concerned people. It was A to E. A to E. Air, radio waves in the air reaching consumers' ears was the concern of the recording industry and the publishing industry. Why is anybody going to want to print and sheet music? Why is anybody going to even buy records when they can hear this music for free? Our industry's over. Was it over? Not at all. You had radio stars that became record stars because there was an increase in the sale of the records as a result of the radio promotion. Sheet music continued to sell. William Paley was an entrepreneur as well, and in 1927, he bought 16 radio stations, primarily for the purpose of advertising his father's cigar business. But that group of stations, the Columbia Broadcasting System, CBS, went on to play a prominent role not only in the music industry, but in mass media in general. But then you had the Second World War. And the use of lacquer had to be restricted. Lacquer was used to make the records, 78s as they were called, because they moved around the turntable at 78 revolutions per minute. These were single records. They called them singles because they had one song on one side and one song on the other. But they couldn't make them during the war because they used, all of the materials were used for the war effort. Everyone, most of the males were away fighting the war. Once again, people said the industry's over. It's not going to happen. And once again, that technological innovation, radio, this time with the creation of the Armed Forces Radio Network. 90 stations across the whole world creating that A to E experience. But not just for Americans. That was the first time that many foreigners had the opportunity to hear this great American music. And what kind of impact did that make on people across the world? They're hearing this music and they've never heard anything like it. It's got Afro rhythms, it's got European content, it's this popular music, this dance music was something that was completely fascinating to people all over the world. So what seemed to be one of the darkest hours, clearly on the political and social scene with the World War, turned out to be the boost that the record industry needed to further expand after the war. And there was great expansion of the music industry. When the soldiers came home, the sale of instruments exploded. You can bet that there were soldiers in the European front that were in the ditches and doing their off time when they listened to the Armed Forces Radio Network, heard the great music of the Duke Ellington Band and Count Basie and You can believe some of them possibly said, you know, if I make it out of this war alive, when I get home, I'm going to pick up a saxophone and blow it just like Lester Young. Yeah, I want to play like the Prez. And you can believe me, when they got home, that's exactly what they did. Instrument sales exploded. And you had an entrepreneur that came on the scene at that time in 1945 that saw a great opportunity. An entrepreneur that said, here's a need that needs to be filled. What is that need? Well, if these GIs come home from the war and they have the GI Bill, which was a government program that allowed the government to pay for the tuition for veterans to go to college or to advanced training of some sort, this entrepreneur said, I know a lot of these vets that are coming back really want to know how to play like Lester Young. They want to be a part of a big band. But the only undergraduate programs or college level programs, advanced programs for music were in conservatories that only taught classical music. This entrepreneur said, no, that's not what they want. I think they want to understand and be able to play in bands, big bands, jazz music. So he started in 1945, the Schillinger House, and I'm speaking of Lawrence Burke, the founder of Berklee College of Music. And you wonder, when I said the Schillinger House, that was the forerunner of Berklee College of Music. In the 50s, Lawrence Burke decided to name the college after his son, Lee Burke, Burke Lee. A great entrepreneurship story that led into the middle of the last century. Technical innovation and entrepreneurship were hallmarks of the music industry in the first half of the 20th century and will become even more significant in the second half.